Tyler Ramsey doesn't paint how you and I would paint. He doesn't use brushes, mostly because he says he can never find them. It's like he isn't painting, really. It's like he sees something that we don't see, and he needs you, us, to help find it. Tyler's always worked in large-scale art, but he's learned that the story of each piece is sometimes happening in one small area. Tyler's art, like the universe itself, can almost seem too big to hold in your head all at once. So, he'll cut it down for you to a single, beautiful story. When you experience the full breadth of a Tyler Ramsey piece, but you fall for that tiny section, that small square that speaks to you directly, Tyler Ramsey will take scissors to his world and cut your dream from it. That's cropping.
I'm so excited to be here. Francis, I have to say, I wish you could give me advice all the time. I can't imagine following someone that is more inspirational, more inspiring. So far, I'm having the time of my life here. And it reminds me of something. It reminds me of something that I love a ton. Like the greatest sports team, in my opinion, the greatest sports team of all time, the whole world that's ever been, it happens to be an American football team in Texas. And they're called the Panthers. And they have this coach, and he comes in, and the Panthers have always won. They've always won. And this coach comes in, and he's like the new coach, and he has a phrase that he says to the team. He always looks them in the eye and says, "Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose." And all he has to do is get through saying full hearts, and the whole team just joins him. And they're like, "Can't lose." Well, the guy takes the job within five minutes. They haven't even had their first game. His number one player breaks his neck, and he's paralyzed. By the way, this is a fictional team that I'm telling you about. So it's like they could do all kinds of things. All I know is that the first season of the show is so exciting, and this is why. You see a team spend all their time, oh, by the way, they're all misfits. They're all misfits, of course. You see, during the one season, this team comes together, and they work together, and the misfits end up getting along. They clash, then they get along. And it's just like the greatest example of teamwork. And I feel like there's something similar here. Like I'm feeling like a similar vibe of, like, it doesn't look like there are that many misfits, but it does look like there's an awesome collection of players that form a team. You know, forget American football. Has anyone here like karate movies? I love karate movies. Like every great karate movie, all of a sudden, like, you get a collection of people. And all of a sudden it's like, well, what are we gonna do? I don't know, we're all like ninjas. What are we gonna do? We gotta go beat that samurai. Okay, invariably, on this team of ninjas, you got one guy who's like great at nunchucks. And he's awesome. And always in the movie, like the one time that you need the guy with nunchucks, he's there with his nunchucks. And like the guy with the Chinese star, always, the very beginning, there's like maybe a couple of samurais with arrows and they're coming, Chinese star, Chinese star. He's there and he's there when he needs to. I would say that all of these people on this awesome like team of ninjas, they're actually artists. They take what they do very seriously, and they know how their best thing is going to impact the group. And so you all of a sudden, it's not a group of ninjas. I mean, ninjas are awesome, but it's really a group of artists. Does anyone ever eat Subway sandwiches? Like, you know, everyone here knows Subway sandwiches. They have a saying, and they're like, we're not sandwich makers, we're sandwich artists. And when I heard that, part of me, I'm like, they're stealing the title of artist. Like, what the heck? I worked really hard for this. But there's nothing that is like less productive for society than to say, oh, this group is creative and everyone else is not. What was explained this morning, whether it's like, or what was requested this morning, was I think 100 million users. Like, that is a problem, or at least that is a challenge. And to get from one point to another, you're going to have to use some creativity. Well, if you think of one point, the distance between one point and another point, if you, instead of thinking like, I need to solve this problem, and then you immediately start maybe getting a little bit of negativity in your head, instead of you think of everything as an adventure, I need to have this adventure. I need to like celebrate. Like, I have no idea how we're going to get 100 million users, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to have this awesome adventure. And we're going to come together. And you, my friend, when it's time, use your Chinese stars. And you, my friend, nunchucks. That one guy, the only way to beat him is probably nunchucks. We're going to need you. And I feel like the more that you can think, we are a collection of artists and we're on a team and we all have something awesome, everyone feels great and they move forward. Hey, by the way, the team, they won, like this imaginary team, they won at the end of the season. They beat everybody. They beat everybody. Oh, yeah. So I'm an artist. I moved to Los Angeles immediately after getting out of college. And I didn't know what my why was. So I ended up like getting a couple of jobs that to me seemed like almost like, I thought of it as luck, but I think it was like really a blessing. One of the first jobs I've ever had, does anyone know the show Baywatch? It's like beautiful people on a beach and they're having lots of fun. Well, my job for a while was taking scripts to this guy, David Hasselhoff. I would take him the script and be like, hey, so your line is, instead of saying, good job, girls, it's, this time you're just going to be like, go for it, team. I would like give him his script changes. And he was so grateful and so awesome. He was so grateful and so awesome that like everyone on this whole show, you would think, it's like people weren't inspired by the beach. They were inspired because if you're curious, David Hasselhoff was like the greatest leader. So all the camera guys, they would like geek out over how to shoot the beach and how to shoot Pamela Anderson in like a new way and everything. And they would just geek out and they all thought of themselves as artists. And if you told them that they weren't, they would kick you in the butt. I also ended up working for music videos for a while. And I don't know if anyone here likes music videos, whether it's like Britney Spears or Lady Gaga, but the deal with the music video, it's almost like the way that the team put this conference room together like a bunch of ninjas in one day. Music videos are the same. Hey, you have this art, you have an idea. Sometimes they're not even clear on what the idea is. But everyone just has about 24 hours or 48 hours just to like leave it all in the field, shoot, no breaks, just leave it all in the field, and we're all in it together. And by the end, you have this great music video, and everyone feels so proud. So when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, all of a sudden I realized I like teamwork. And I like being around people that are creative. I love to be stimulated by all of a sudden there's a challenge. Like, what do we have to do? Brittany's costume is like too big. We need it to be much smaller. Like, let's figure that out. Like, I think that there's something so stimulating about being in that type of environment. And then I worked for a show called Fear Factor. I don't know if you have it here, but this is the deal. It's almost like a Japanese game show. It's all crazy stunts, people jumping out of the planes, and then also people eating these, maybe like a bowl of maggots or something. And if you do everything that isn't part of the show, you win 50 grand. Well, my job for a whole year was interviewing the people who would be on the show. And all they wanted to do was be on the show. And they would get so fired up, and at the end of their interview, I could actually tell them, if they made it on the show, I could go, hey, guess what? Guess what? You're going to be on the show. Like, it's the greatest. At that moment, I realized I really want to be in the joy business. I want to be around people that are excited. I want to be around things that are exciting. I want to be around companies like this that are exciting. Someone yesterday said something to me. Someone yesterday said something to me, or asked me a question. They said, how do I make concrete exciting? And at the time, I just was laughing. Like I was laughing my head out. And I thought to myself, do you realize that you're all in like the building business? Like everyone here does the ultimate thing that I have a little son, he's 1.5 years. The thing that he seems to be drifting towards more than anything is building blocks. So I would say that there's nothing more exciting than concrete. I think that there's, what's the other thing that you're involved in? Trains? What kid doesn't love trains? What kid doesn't like figuring out how to get from one place to another in a little bit of a different kind of way? That's everything that you guys are doing. Everything that you're doing is friggin' exciting and awesome. And to be honest, I don't want to leave. I think that the energy is like decently infectious around here. And when I say decently, I mean it's like a virus. It is great energy and you can't help but get it. And it's wonderful. So, all I know is that I love being exciting and I loved like collaboration and I loved all that stuff. But I had like this moment where I was like fortunate enough to have like, I had like a voice, and it said, you know what, all this television stuff that you're involved in is great. It's all fantastic, but you are supposed to be an artist. My grandfather is an artist, but it's not something that I really thought about that much. And at the time, I was like an adult. I thought, oh my gosh, I don't want to be like a kid trying to have like develop some new career. And I just thought, I'm like, being an artist sounds like the hardest friggin' thing in the world to do. So I was like, all right, how do I level I'm going to do this. How do I level the playing field? And I was like, all these students and everything, they're practicing brush theory and all this stuff. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to begin by going into a totally different direction. I'm going to get outside of this box, and I will just try to have a career outside of that box. I mean, I don't think the idea that you call being an artist a box is wild, but it is. And I thought, I'm going to get outside of this. And I just started like developing my own way of painting, which really at first, I just started throwing paint. I thought this is like, feels like excitement. I'm going to throw paint. This is exactly what I like doing. Then then my friend, Blake Mykoski, he had just started a company called Tom's Shoes. And if you're not familiar with Tom's, it's a worldwide, international footwear company. They make glasses and all kinds of other stuff too, but the main thing that they do is if you buy a pair of shoes, they give a pair away to someone in need. And that business model massively affected how companies in America for a decade would start. You couldn't listen to a startup conversation without someone saying, oh, and then we're gonna, we'll do this, and then we're gonna give like some money to charity. I feel like it was everywhere. You just didn't hear startups talk about having a company without having some kind of social impact. And I couldn't have been happier to be on like a cool team. I feel like I've painted like maybe a couple of 100,000 pairs of shoes over the years. And I really, my whole thing still, it's like I do all kinds of stuff. I work with neon arts and neon lights and everything, but I still am a guy that throws paint. My great-grandfather wrote a book, and it's called Time Out for Adventure. Like, he was on the bestseller list in America. Like, I couldn't be more proud of, like, being a part of this lineage. It's like one thing that I'm most proud of in the whole world. And I read it. Oh, it's called Time Out for Adventure. Let's go to Mexico. And so sometimes I read about little tips about Mexico, or sometimes I'll read it, and he was like off on a trip with his buddy. They just toured Mexico. It was before anyone was really doing that. And there was just so much joy in him just waking up each day and thinking of, let's have a different adventure today. Let's get to instead of going the short way, let's go the long way. See how it feels. Well, when we're talking about creativity, I feel so strongly that creativity is an adventure. Innovation is an adventure. Whatever your goal is, whatever your moonshot is, there will eventually be a path to that moonshot. There's nothing to stress about. There's nothing to worry about. Like, it will get there. Things will get there. We're all, like, society, we're all going to go forward, and there's really nothing that's going to stop that. But as an individual and as a team member, anytime you see a goal in the future, just get excited about the adventure that everyone's going to have getting there. Be like fired up about it. And if you're a boss, stoke that enjoyment of the adventure. Everyone is already creative. It is insane to me when people come up and they go, oh, I'm not creative. I'm like, what do you do? I'm an accountant. I'm like, my gosh, the only reason I'm with my accountant is because he's creative. That is the most, like, important time to be creative. There's like, you know, if there was, someone else said, oh, my husband is an engineer. Or I'm sorry, my husband is an architect. He always wanted to be an artist and he was creative, but he ended up being an architect. I'm like, are you that? Tell me any artist that has, name like one piece of art that is as grand, as impressive as this place right here. I would say, there's like an artist, Duchamp, and he changed the way the art worked. He's like, you know, kind of the father of contemporary art. His big idea is he had a urinal. He took a urinal to an art show. Backed away and was like, hey. And you know what? That's a good idea. But I don't think that type of idea is as productive as the creativity that all of you bring to the table. There was like a Japanese cartoon, a karate cartoon, and it's called Fist of the North Star. And this one guy, he goes and goes, and he's got to beat this one kind of unstoppable guy. And he finally gets up to him, and they have a conversation. And all of a sudden, unstoppable guy says, I just realized something. Power is nothing without perception. And he's sort of like, for some reason, I mean, it wasn't that satisfying of an ending for a karate lover, but they put their differences aside. All of a sudden, they're like, I can't even believe that this is the conversation we have. And creativity is nothing without a goal. Creativity is nothing unless you're building something really for the world, for everyone. And I feel like there's no role in this world that's more important than what you guys are doing to build. By the way, there's an art piece in back that I'll be working on through this conference. And it says build. I think all of you understand exactly why it says build. Because you're all in the glorious, glorious business of building. I mean, I'm telling you, my child would be so jealous if I just said, would you like to play with Legos for the rest of your life? Of course. That's building. And I have a daughter on the way that's coming up, and I think of different conversations to have with her. And if I said, hey, one day you might have something to do with YTL, maybe think of that as a place that you'd want to work. And if she said, well, what kind of stuff are they involved in? I'm like, yes, they build, but also people. People. All they want to do is get to know people better. They want to right now, Francis, all he wants to do is get to know who he's trying to help. He wants 100 million email addresses so he can get to know the people that he's trying to work with, that you're all trying to work with. And if I told my daughter, it's maybe she's a tomboy and maybe she's not a tomboy, but let's say she's not a tomboy, and I said, they also own a lot of malls and and they couldn't be more involved in fashion. I mean, I think that this company just is overwhelmingly flowing over with excitement. And I think that this is definitely an adventure that all of you should be excited to have. In this karate movie, there's a point where the samurai is kind of really present a challenge. And there's like one moment where during that challenge, the team, like these two guys, all of a sudden turn on each other. Like they just randomly turn on. There's no need for them to turn on each other. They have different backgrounds, and they're a little bit different. But all of a sudden, in the face of this problem or challenge, they just turn on each other. And all the gains this like team of ninjas makes is reduced and reduced and reduced. And there's no need for it. And it's because these two guys all of a sudden saw the challenge and they were just like, why are we even doing this? They got scared of the challenge. They got afraid of the challenge. Maybe he ran out of Chinese stars also, but I feel like there's nothing worse for creativity than allowing a little bit of fear get into your head. Once you have like a little bit of fear, there's no room for new ideas. Distraction of any kind is just a killer of creativity. And procrastination, that is a perfect example of kind of like a benign, just something that's like almost you don't even realize it's happening. A couple hours pass, you haven't thought of any new ideas. Maybe it's like you let your head spin. Thankfully I've been just jammed with inspiration and ideas, and I have no shortage of words. But I was walking around yesterday, and I thought, I wouldn't mind I'll use the term moonshot. I wouldn't mind like one little moonshot for my speech. And I was walking around. Well, all of a sudden, I also got it in my head that I needed like a new Adidas tracksuit. Like I just saw like a rap video, and this guy had like an all one-piece Adidas tracksuit. It took up most of my day looking for this silly tracksuit. I didn't even find it. What a silly squandering of energy, momentum. I don't have, I think that I have to say, I'm more humbled than someone that can just throw a bunch of advice, but I do have a couple of things to say, and it's, if you want to really stoke and release creativity in a group, remove fear, remove distractions. There's nothing wrong with saying, listen, this is the time we're all just going to think and talk. Make a point of getting people used to relaxing, feeling good about it, feeling confident, and taking a second where they can just let their brain kind of run. Hey, there's no clock up here, by the way. Oh, I'm out of time. That coach of the show, his whole thing, clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. That's one phrase, and it works for him. But I have another that I think is appropriate for this group. Look, whatever moonshot you need to reach, whatever goal you need to reach, whatever problem you think needs to be solved, look at it and say, do you know what? It's time for adventure. Let's take time out for adventure. Let's have a blast right now. Let's get there. And you know what? There's going to be no stress. I know we have a timetable, but let's get there. Let's go on a friggin' adventure. If you can say that next time, it's going to be great. You're not going to struggle. It's going to be great. It's going to be glorious. And I feel like there's one phrase, if everyone could just chant this with me. It's an old, sacred chant through several generations of heroes. If everyone could just join me in 3 cheers of hip, hip, hooray. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Thank you very much.